In this video, I would just like to say a few words about using data that has been exported from the Amina database, whether this is in a CSV spreadsheet format, as you see here on the screen, or in an attribute table that you're using with a shapefile in a GIS program. As you can see here, I have exported a CSV from the database and used our Google Sheets column reorganizer to reorganize the columns so that they're in an order that is more like what appears in the database. I've already done all these steps as described in previous videos, and now I want to start working with the data and asking some questions of it. One of the useful things that you might want to do when you're working with a spreadsheet or in an attribute table is to filter your results. So for example, we have the field heritage place function, and maybe I want to filter my results so only I get the results that were funerary memorial as their function. So you can see to begin with I have a data set of 38 sites, but I want to filter that, so I would just click the filter button here, and there are ways to do this in other spreadsheet programs as well. I'm going to filter by condition, and I want to say the text contains, and enter my value, funerary memorial. Click OK, and then you can see I get results here. And we can see that it tells me that there are 18 records that have funerary memorial as a heritage place function. So there are many things that you can do doing this kind of filter. But the important thing to remember, if I unfilter my results, is that the information contained in each individual record is only a list of all the terms that have been identified in that record in each field. And many of the relationships between the individual terms within a record may have been lost in the export. This is because many of the fields in the database are nested and have direct relationships to each other, for example, between the heritage place function and its certainty, or for example, between a site feature certainty, its shape, its arrangement and number, etc. All these fields that have direct relationships to each other. Now you can see here, these are some simple examples, and because there's just one entry in each of these, obviously we can be sure, or fairly sure anyway, that these terms all relate to each other. So we have a structure with a high certainty. That structure is rectangular or square in shape. There's just one of them. It is a discrete structure, meaning there are no others around, and it's been interpreted as a mosque, imam, or marabou. So this is fine when our records are simple. However, if we go down to a more complicated example, for example, if we look at this record here, this is the record for Leptis Magna, which is a very complicated Roman urban site dating to a long period of time between the first millennium BC and the first millennium AD. If we go back to our feature and interpretation fields, if we have a look at the feature forms, you can see we have a long list identifying the different feature forms that are present at Leptis Magna. So we have structures, rubble spread and architectural fragments, a tower, another structure, but which probably has different attributes from these structures, bank, walls, etc. A lot of different things. Then, however, if we go look at the interpretation field, we can see we have an even longer list of various types of features and buildings that have been identified at the site. So we have a government administrative building, colonnaded street, fountain, amphitheater, port and harbor, many, many different things. So this is great if you're just looking at an individual field, and you can do the search that I showed you before, the filter, to just see whether the type of feature that you're looking for or attribute is present or absent in a record. However, we cannot be sure how the terms that have been identified in this field relate to the terms in this field. So we don't know which structure has been interpreted as which administrative building or fountain or house or whatever it is in this field. So you have to be careful when you are making assumptions about which data goes together in different fields in your exports. The important thing to remember is basically that you cannot make any assumptions about which data belongs together in the exports. We are currently working on a way to improve the quality of the exported data, but this is currently in development. If you want to do complex data searches, which rely on understanding which fields are related to terms in other fields, we do recommend that you do this in the database itself by using the advanced search function, and do not do them using exported data in this way.